Hey everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, DerekMacPhotography.co.uk. Today I thought I would make a second video around the Yongnuo flashes. I made one a week ago or so. Actually the last video was 2016 and this is the first video of 2017, so Happy New Year everyone. And this video is really just a follow-up, Yongnuo flashes. A lot of people will not buy off-brand and some folk will only buy off-brand. I've experience of both off-brand, very inexpensive, cheap fakes that didn't really cut the mustard, if you like, and I've bought on-brand ones such as these Canon 600EXRTs. Now, these are the first generation 600EXRTs. There is a second generation out. The cost to the second one, I just checked a little while ago, is something like £440 or £420, depending where you buy them. And the cost of the first generation ones at the moment, these ones, are about £320 to £360 UK. Depends where you purchase them. So compare that with the Yongnuos, the YN600EXRT. These come in at the moment about £90. So it's just a shade under 25% of the cost of the Canon equivalent. Now it is a Canon equivalent. It's not a direct copy because they have made changes to the Yongnuo. And let's just have a look at the build quality, the body, etc. And they feel very similar. Now this one here is one that I've been using with a battery pack. And it's these little things that give you the annoyance. This is to, and if you've not used an external battery pack, this is one. It holds 8 AA batteries. I've got any loops in there. And when you plug an external power source like this in here, don't think I've got a right answer, so give me a second. You could tell it's working. There's a little light in there, and when you have an external battery pack, it changes the dynamic of what the battery power is doing. Now when I pop the battery, pop the flash, now that's an issue because I'm lighting this up with the modelling light from a strobe, so I'll need to turn the strobe off optical slave mode. And it actually looks like it's in S2 mode, which I'm going to actually leave. This will do me fine for a wee demonstration in a moment or two. But when you've got an external battery pack plugged in, sorry, the internal batteries are then only powering the unit, powering the LCD, the switch, the commands, etc. They're not powering the flash. All the power from that comes from the external pack. So that's great, and if you're ever using these for a wedding, then I suggest you get one of these. I have the Canon one here, which again, because it's on brand, is very expensive, and the off brand, this one here on Amazon for about, I think it was about £25 or something. Could be. I've had it a few years now, so I can't really remember. But it's again, it's probably about a quarter of the price of the Canon one. So we'll take that out of there just now. And it's just pull and pull out. Now if I power the flash, now again, this is one of the little annoyances, I don't know if you can quite see that or not, but this little flap that is there to cover that, it'll not remain in there for any length of time, that it just falls out. If the gravity will pull it out. So that's an annoyance. So let's sort of compare them physically first. I'll take that one out of the way so you can see a bit better. So the Canon, at first appearances it looks identical, but there is physical differences as well. If we turn on to the side, these look the same. On this one here, which is the Canon, that's actually a button. If I try and turn the head on the Canon, it'll go up and down, but it will not turn left and right. And once it's in the down position, it will not come back up. You need to press this button. It's a working button. You press it, you can move it, you can turn it, and you can turn it in the down position as well. On the Yongnuo, that's not an actual button, it's just a shaped bit of rubber. If you were ever going inside the internals of the battery and the flash, say for instance, if this one's had a break in it, so we'll maybe not use that one. This one was one that dropped, and the diffusion panel came out, and it was dropped from about 6 feet. I would fully expect to receive damage to the Canon if it was dropped by a similar distance. So I'm not kind of counting that in the build quality, or that's not an issue. Let's use this other one. Okay, that's got its diffusion paneling. So looking at them straight on to the heads, Canon is this one here. They look fairly similar in size. If we put the heads like that. Now, as I say, this button here on the Yongnuo is not a working button. You don't need to press it to shift it or tilt it. It's quite tightly packed. I'll take this here off. This is just for a coloured gel that was on there. So there's nothing really stops that from moving. And in case you're wondering about the numbers, I number my flashes. It gives me an idea what one I've used. I use them sequentially, and it's a way of keeping an eye on what batteries I'm using. I might use one for half a day, number one, and I know number one's got half a day's worth of battery life left in it, basically. So people did complain that the battery drained in these while, if they were left in, that it didn't actually turn off. I've not found that. It does do a bit of strangeness sometimes when you turn it off. Sometimes that little light will come back on for a second or two, but whatever problem there was with them not turning off, it seems to have been fixed. So side by side, they do appear fairly similar. In terms of the buttons on the fronts, they are almost identical in every way. There is no difference. The exact same buttons, exact same areas. Both have turning wheels, etc., etc. Both have a lock switch, so when you turn it on to the first one and the first one, you can't accidentally change settings on it. It's tell you it's locked. So that's fine. So they're the same. And then when you go to fully on, you've got all the functions laid out in front of you there. We'll have a look at functions in a minute. On the reverse side, or on the underside, depends how you want to call it, and a noticeable difference on the Canon one is that there is no optical sleeve. Now, in the last video I spoke about external A and external M, external auto, external manual. What used to happen with these flashes on external auto or manual, and I'm just going to put this on a little stand for no other reason than there's one line there. Incidentally, they all come with these little stands. You put them on there, make sure you lock it in, and it's in. So when the Canon was turned on to external auto or external manual, and it was lined up with a subject, for instance this here is the subject, and maybe the camera was out of the picture to the front, so a beam of light would be sent to the subject and bounce back into this optical trigger, or optical sensor we'll call it, and the flash had all the details of the aperture and ISO already tuned into it. So if we put this one back on, we'll take it off the radio link, ETTL, and if we go through the modes, so external A, we'll forget the external auto one, but if we go to the external manual one, you would type in, or trigger in, or whatever you want to call it, you would type in the ISO and the F number, and the flash then told you there was coverage from between 2.3 feet to 20 feet. And then when you hit the trigger, the flash would work out the power it needed, but it would send a signal from there and back into here, into this optical sensor. That changed when ETTL come along. They mixed in the same functionality is there, but it's now mixed in with the lens. So it takes, you don't physically have to put any aperture or anything like that, and it's taken from the lens. It works it out automatically. So external A is no longer required. It's an old function, and I'm really surprised that Canon had it with these 600EXRTs. I've not seen the 2s, so I don't know if it's still part of the 2s, the 600EXRT 2s. So that physical difference is there. Now, if anyone knows Yongnuo, what they do is either Nikon or Canon or whoever it is that releases a flash will release their flash onto the market. The very clever people at Yongnuo take the flash away, take it to pieces, and effectively they reverse engineer a flash. They make a copy of it, it's reverse engineered. They're not stealing plans to do it. They're looking at what's inside the gubbins of here, and then they're making a flash to match it. And then Yongnuo have obviously decided that function there, external A, is no longer required because we have the red panel. So that's what you need to know about that. And before, when this optical sleeve was previously, when the optical sleeve was used, it was used in a different way. Basically, anytime that flash was fired, or anytime this optical sleeve seen a flash firing, it would also fire. It doesn't do that now, and to work on the optical sleeve, it needs information which gets sent from the camera, and it gets sent via infrared to this. If we turn these on, we'll turn one of them on. Now I've got I'm lighting this with a strobe which has a modelling light attached. I've got spotlights on it, and it would have gave you a horrible glare directly above this flash, so that's why I've done that. But if I fire this flash off, nothing's happening there. And if I put this one on here, I think actually the batteries are about ready to go on this one. But anyway, we'll leave it there just now. So we'll take the Canon aside for now. Just quickly turn this one off and put it over there out of view. So if we run through the settings of the Yongnuo, now as soon as you turn it on, it'll come on as ETTL, and the ETTL on the Yongnuo is exactly the same in the Canon. I've used these at weddings now, several weddings now, and I get no issues whatsoever with them. They fire every time when they're on trigger, they fire every time on camera. But again, another build quality issue with them, if I put this on a camera, there is almost no tightness in the locking mechanism to get on the camera. And to be fair, it does feel quite tight, but when you're forcing the head to turn, etc., you do feel at times that you could pull that right out of the hot shoe. It's not 100% tight, but it is tight enough. And like I said, I dropped this one and it was a direct result. this button here, it's very, very flimsy. This one here for the locking mechanism, and you barely have to touch it at all, and the camera becomes unlocked. So again, it's once you know about it, it's fine, it's not a major issue. But when you don't know about it, it's a costly exercise if you lose a flash. So that's that. So it has ETTL, and let's quickly go through the modes that it does have on here. Hopefully you're seeing that. It's got ETTL, and it's got manual. It's got multi, which is a strobe effect. And I don't know if you're seeing this, hopefully you're seeing it. Right up in the corner, it's got a battery life indicator, which is great. It's only there though when you're on. Once you sort of have a radio signal or radio trigger enabled, it'll disappear. Don't take that down to background to there. So it's got that, it's got manual, got multi, as it says. And when we go through we'll go back to manual. It doesn't really matter where we go back to. We're gonna make it flashy anyway. It's got, you can set the zoom manually, which generally I do. So I have it around about the 50mm. I think that's a good kind of coverage range. 235 to 50 is pretty good. Range is quite noisy, the flash, but it does go through a 200mm zoom. And if you look at it through there, I'll try and do this blind. You may be able to see that. No, it's not working that way. Right, let's see if I can see what I'm doing at the same time. So if we hit the zoom button again, and I try turning it, you may be able to see the head moving. You can see it moving within there. And it's, as I say, it's quite noisy if we compare it with the Canon. You can hear it, but it's not quite so loud. I generally know what distance I'm going to be shooting from my subjects, so quite often I'll leave it on manual at 50mm. I think that's a fairly good range. Turn that off. But see, yeah, the Yongnuo is fairly noisy. But it's not the end of the world. And generally when you're using it, you'll probably not notice it. I tend not to use them too much on camera. I'll have them on a light stand or on top of a tripod or on one of their little mounts. So these mounts. They are good as your main flash, and they're also good as a second flash. They have got different functions to the Canon. If we go through the Canon, the batteries on this are about ready to die, I think, so that's taking a little bit longer. And it's noticeable when you've not got this battery power indicator. You're guessing your flashes, hence the reason I number mine, so I kind of give me a rough idea of what flashes I've been using. So if you go through the radio signals, now this external M mode isn't actually available in the radio, so I have to change the mode for that. So if we hit the radio link, it will light up green. So this symbol here is the radio, and that's radio master. You then have radio slave. That's all your functions. If we have a look at the Yongnuo, and we'll start again, you have radio master, radio slave, optical master, optical slave. But then you have S1 mode. Now S1 is proper old school optical slave, i.e. when you leave it on S1, any flash of light will make that active. And if I just show you that just now, I'll turn the trigger off this one completely, the radio signal. And you see there's no radio signal in the Canon at the moment. It's, if I try and get that, hopefully you're seeing that. Can you hear a little bleep? And the bleep's coming from that. I've not got an audio bleep on that. That's set up on, this is set up to S1. Now S1 is good, but it will flash at every instance of a flash. And that could be even somebody beside you with an iPhone, if it flashes and this sees it. The reason why it missed a couple there is I'm covering the optical, and you actually, it's better to have it like that so it does see the flash. So if we do that again, hopefully you'll see both ends of this now. Hopefully you're hearing the bleep. I'll put it near to my microphone. And the only thing that's triggering this flash on that mode is the flash from the Canon. So basically it's light that's making it do it. You can also get audio ones, but this is light. Now S1 means it'll flash every time it sees a light. If we turn it to S2, I'll turn this back on. If we turn it to S2, which is the next one round. So what this one also has is S2 mode, and S2 mode can best be explained if I explain ATTL. ATTL, evaluate through the lens metering, which essentially means that if I want to take a picture of something here, and I have my flash on ATTL, and I have my camera there, okay, it's a wee bit closer, I appreciate it, but let's just for demonstration purposes, we'll have that there, move that out the road. So if I were to take a photo of that there, and this flash is about 6 or 7 inches above the camera for this demonstration, in ATTL mode, a burst of flash would go down there, it would reflect back into here, but the means of triggering the camera, there would have a radio trigger on there. The information when that burst went out in the first place, the flash would be armed with the knowledge of what lens I've got on there. When it sends that bursty flash out, it then gets armed with the distance to subject from the lens. And it can work out on its own a correct exposure. So it's from here to here and here, it works out in one fell swoop. It's very accurate a lot of the time, but every now and again it can be thrown off, especially when you've got a situation where you might have a bride in a white dress and we're in a dark panelled room taking photos of a ceremony or service, and maybe the groom and his best men have all got dark clothing on as well, and quite often if you've got evaluative metering on your camera, the flash will be confused with that and it will try and throw out far too much light. So I tend to use it in manual, but where S2 can come in, and it's quite handy, that the pre-flash that comes out from the flash, if you're on S1 mode, i.e. optical slave, complete optical slave, if you're in S1, that can make your flash trigger, the pre-flash. And if your flashes are set up and some of them are on full power, it won't recycle quick enough by the time the exposure flash is set. So on S2 mode, the flash will ignore every second flash or every first flash, doesn't matter what. If this here is on ATTL, This here's on ETTL and this here's on S2, and it fires out its pre-flash to work out what exposure it needs for the actual flash. This will ignore that first one and it will only flash on the second one. Again, you're not going to use it very often, but if you're setting up a scene, portraits, or if you're wanting to do some lighting, you may well use the S. I tend to use the S1 mode if I'm using it at all. And basically when you're on S1, I went too far. When you're on S1, it's more or less manual settings for everything. You determine the settings for your flash, etc. The S modes aren't available in every configuration. And again, when this goes on camera, you can use it as a master. It will trigger other Yongnuos. It will also trigger the Canon, or it can be part of a grouped set of slaves. So that's the flash. That's a Yongnuo. And let's have a look at the trigger that goes with it. This is a Canon one, which we had a look at the other day. And again, I'll take the camera out of the way. And again, they're pretty much identical. When one's found a match and one hasn't, let's have a look. If we go through, we'll turn this onto a radio just for the sake of this. ETTL, radio master, radio slave. Now, when you've got them set up, it will not have more than one master. There's only one can be master, so whoever switched on the first will become the master. Both of these are set up to be masters, but they can't both be master at the same time. So I'll turn the Canon one off just now. And this one instantly took over the role of master. And now if I put the Canon one back on, the Canon one stays amber. You'll see that, again, both, we can't have two masters. We can have many slaves, but only one master at the same time. Like the Canon, it will operate or fire off in groups. We have A, B, C, D. And if I hit the group button there, we can go down A, B, C, D, E, and F. A, B, C, D, and E, sorry. And you can control the mode. You can control whether it's on or off included. So let's have a look at this one. We've got this in flash group B. And again, just like the Canon, to set the group that the flash is going to belong to, you just hit the GR button on the flash and it will scroll through the letters. So if you just make it group A, and on the trigger, if we go up to group A, to make the groups active, hit the GR button on here, and we're straight into group A, and we can make that flash as a test by pressing that. And we can, if we just hit this button here, it'll take us into the power, or you could hit that button there. If you hit this button here, it'll take you into power. You can increase or decrease the power as required. I'll turn the power down just for the sake of the demonstration. And as you see that, we're down to 1/16 power. Currently this is sat at full power, so as soon as I flash this off, you'll see that's changed on the front of the display as well. And it changes equally fast whether I'm using the Canon flash or the Yongnuo flash. I'll turn the Canon one on. Oops, this is actually the broken one, but it doesn't matter. I'll not use that just now. Actually, I will put that on in a moment. We'll put this one on. If I turn it that way, you should see it. And we'll just turn this. It will not work. If you've got external A on it, it will not let you change it. Turn it on to radio and put that down for a second. It won't even let you turn the radio on if you're on external A. So that's them both on now. This one's an ETTL. This is a Canon. Give it a little half turn there. Hopefully you're able to see that. So this is Yongnuo. This is the Canon. And let me have a look. Canon is in group A, so I need to change the Canon one to group B. So again, press the group button on the unit. And group B on my control here is in manual. We'll leave it at TTL. So again, to change that, we just press forget that EXA button, ETTL, and we'll reduce the power all the way down as we're only on test modes. And you'll see that one, which is currently sitting at full power. And something that's the same on the Canon is on here. Even though whatever reading it is I've got on here, for anything that's an ETTL, it's not reflected like that on the front of the screen. The manual, it changes it instantly, but not in front of the screen. For ETTL, it doesn't do it, only in manual. And another good thing, if you have a look at the little lightning bolts here at the side, that's telling you that both these flashes are ready to fire. Now, we know the Canon's a little bit worse to wear battery wise, so if we do this again, if you look at the speed that these come back on, came on straight away. Let's try and make it, let's put the Canon, which is in B, up to plus power. To hit the group button, hit that, and we'll go all the way up to 3 stops over in ETTL. And if I press it now, and you'll see there's a delay in there's actually a delay in both of them. If you have a look here, right at the side, I'll try and keep that nice and steady for you. This is what you're looking for right there. I'll keep the light on. 1, 2, 3. And you hopefully are seeing there that there's a delay on the little flash icon coming back, the little lightning bolt. And only when the lightning bolt is there does it mean that the flash that it's firing is ready. So that's a good visual indicator your flash has been ready or not ready. So there you have it, Yongnuo. Would I recommend the Yongnuos over the Canons? Probably. They do have that extra functionality in the S modes that I think is kind of good in a group setting. It's no in an individual. If you were out doing an individual portrait and you wanted to light it, some mood lighting, some colour gels on, etc., that's a good time to use it. It's also line of sight, so sometimes it doesn't work. 25% of the price of that, so that's a big consideration. If you're thinking of buying, sorry, that's a Canon. The Canon is almost £320, whereas the Yongnuo is £90. So that's what you need to think of. You could buy 3 Yongnuos to 1 Canon and still have change. So you can buy lots of battery packs or something. In terms of them working and firing, I would always advise getting the triggers. I would never ever put these things on top of the camera. A, they're too heavy, they add up weight onto your camera. And if you're wearing your camera strap over your shoulder or around your neck, it's heavy enough just for the camera, but then put on one of these as well, it makes it much heavier. If you've got a black Rapid on and you've got it hanging down by your side, again, it knocks the balance off of your camera. So I never have them on camera. I always have the triggers, and even the triggers, the Canon one was about £200, whereas this one was something like £45 or £55, and it's got better functionality. It's actually got a little bit more functionality than the Canon as well. If we come out of group mode, if we just have them in manual mode, for instance. Now, if I want to have rear curtain sync, so there's this is a Yongnuo, the YN. So I can have rear curtain sync here, and that's me got here in manual. Now, if you're doing a long exposure shot and it involves people, it's always better to have the flash pop at the end of the long exposure, especially if there's light involved. If you're doing, I'll put a photo up on me doing a spinning, wheel spinning, burning wheel, sparking wheel, whatever you call it. And had the flash went at the start of the exposure, every tiny bit of movement, just like I'm doing my hand just now, while the wheel was spinning in the background, would have cut into your subject. And that movement is a bit extreme. But if you're just standing there kind of still and the flash has already went, but the rest of the exposure, the maybe 6 or 7 seconds, has been built up with the wheel spinning going on behind you, any movement at all you do, even breathing or anything, is going to give you an artificial edge that's just not going to look right. Whereas if the flash is right at the end of the exposure, it's much better. Let's put this on camera and I'll show you what I mean. If I test these flashes right now, you see they're both changed to manual, and if I go something like a 3-second exposure, 4-second exposure, okay, and if I fire that off now, okay, now this is the Yongnuo flash and it's firing a Canon flash. Now this function isn't available on the Canon flash, so if I fire that off now, hopefully you'll see this, and I've made the exposure 4 seconds. And you'll see at the end of the 4 seconds, the exposure went. Sorry, the flash fired. If I turn this flash trigger off, this is the Yongnuo one, turn that one off. And we'll look for the same function in the Canon one. We'll go to manual, and we'll go to the same menu. And we go to sync, and I hit sync again. We don't have that function. We have high speed sync or first curtain sync. So that shot that I wanted to do with the wheel spin, I couldn't do it unless I had the Yongnuo trigger. And the Yongnuo trigger easily fired off the Canon ones. I did actually have a strobe that night as well, so the strobe was the main source of the light, but I had the flashes with amber gels on in the same area, and you see it really did add to the kind of effect. So there you have it, Yongnuo. Put that to the side. So that's the Canon 600EXRT versus the Yongnuo YN600EXRT. So recommended, yes, they're sturdy. There is build quality issues. Oh, one other thing which I didn't point out was this little flap here. Now, if we do the same one on the Canon, this is the Yongnuo, and this is the Canon. This is an older PC sync cord. Totally useless. Nobody uses them nowadays for that type. This here attaches to the PC, and so if there's a firmware upgrade, if I decided to buy another camera and wanted compatibility, this would attach to the PC and I could get the firmware update for that. Again, it's another thing, Canon decided not to do that, which means that they bring out a Mark II version, and if you want the latest functionality for the Mark II version, you have to buy it at another 400 quid. So Canon Speedlights are great, I'm not dissing them. I've used them a long time, they're very sturdy. Yongnuos are also very sturdy, I have to say. This is the one that fell, and it fell from about 6 foot, and it still works. And if I the batteries might be a bit dead in it, but it still works fine. And let's see if it works on the rear curtain sync. Some of the functionality went with it. Let's go back to the Yongnuo one. And we're on rear curtain sync here on the Yongnuo. Let's see if that still works. I'm going to have to put it in the camera, be easier. And the battery in my camera is about ready to go, so I'm just about to wind up with this video. So let's see one more time. Doesn't seem to want to go on that mode. Let me see, sleep. Oh, but because we're on the normal, let's try this mode here. It's not going to work with that. This one. S1 will only work from another flash, shall not work in this mode. So it doesn't work on rear curtain in its current state. But you know what, I can live without that. I can use it on the radio, which is the most important thing, on the forward sync option. Anyway, there you go. That's a battered and bruised one. The one that fell from a great height. Still working. And although we'd never now use it as a main flash at any time, it will still go in part of a group of flashes. It will still contribute to light. So life in these Yongnuos yet. See, they're quite sturdy. They're not going to fall apart and you drop them. There are bits and pieces that fall off. And it is fixable if it can ever be worth trying to get the head off and put them back in. The actual parts weren't damaged, it was just this. So, Yongnuo, yep, definitely recommended. Thanks for watching.
As a little add-on to the end of this video, just like to say that we're going to take the Canon and Yongnuo flashes out. We're going to give them a fair test for distance, consistency of flash output, and just to see how they all work in their groups and how the triggers perform with them as well. We might go back to this same setting. That seems an appropriate one. So yeah, that's the next part.